Hello, Ryan, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, all right. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get to as many questions as we can within our 30-minute block with you. So we'll start for questions. If you have a question, friendly reminder, you may send us a chat. You may also raise your hand or text text me on my phone. I'll be monitoring that as well. My cell phone number is in the chat. We are going to start with Claire B. Lane. Go ahead, Claire.
Thank you. All right. Ryan, can you talk about when you strap in for the Daytona 500? What's on your mind about that race? How that feels, as all the hoopla usually happens. It'll be a little different. But what's the feeling about it within the head for a driver as he straps in?
Well, it's not only our biggest race of the year, but it's the first race of the year too. So you're trying to get back in the rhythm of things for sure, and it's just nice to sit in a car again for sure, and know that hey, this is our first race of the year, and obviously you know what it means to win it, and you're trying to just my mind kind of just goes through strategy of the race, but then keeping an open mind because things don't always go to plan, especially in that race. You never know what's going to happen. So the biggest thing is just trying to make it to the end. That seems to be, obviously you got to be there to have a shot at it. And sometimes that's out of your control. But no, I mean, it's just nice to finally get back going again. And I like our biggest race as the first one of the year. It's just, if you want to get stuff rolling again after the off season, that's a good way to do it. So, and that's how it's always been. So, but the main thing for me is just I love racing, and it's just nice to know that we're finally racing again. And that's what kind of goes through my head there at the start of the 500, and think about obviously win the race too.
The Daytona 500 makes and breaks careers. We know that it's the biggest trophy, other than a championship. It's one of the crown jewels. But how important is it to come out fighting, to be up there, to be in it, to show what you got, because the season kind of starts after Daytona once you get that big hoopla over. How important is it for teams such as yours and you to be like Daytona 500, here we were, win or not,
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't only get the drivers back into the rhythm, it gets the teams back into everything, the pit crew. I mean, it's massive for them too. It's just as big for them as it is for us, to go try to win that race and get the year started off right. We've been close to that thing a couple times in the past few years, and hopefully we can have another shot at it this year. But yeah, it's my season. You say people think your season starts after Daytona, but no, it starts in Daytona. I mean, that's the start of the year, and that's when you got to get going. There's 36 weeks, and that's number one. So yeah, I focus on the 500 just as much as I focus on any other race, just because it obviously is a massive race to win. But it's what you want to start your year off right. You don't want to start off with it can't happen, but having a big wreck and finishing in the back, that just kind of stinks. But as an argument to that, you're like, well, it's just it's Daytona, it's a speedway, that's what happens, and you can focus on next week. But no, it's just priority number one is you start off with one race and then you go to the next one. So the focus is on the 500, and then whatever happens. We'll go focus on the road course, staying down there for the next week.
Thanks for your time. Have a good luck race at Daytona.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Jenna Fryer. Go ahead, Jenna.
Hey, Ryan. Your dad was in the 2001 Daytona 500, and I would imagine you were about 7 or 8 years old, big race fan. What do you remember about that race? And as a little kid, did Dale Earnhardt's death scare you at all?
I've been asked about that a few times in the off season, being the 20 years, and I wish I could remember more of it. I was just too young to really have a good memory of it. I remember a little bit of being there and being around it, but I have no memories of meeting Dale Earnhardt. I was just too young, and I can't remember, which is really unfortunate. I wish I could tell you some good stories the first time I met him and things like that. But and watching that wreck, as I got older and understanding what happened, as a kid, when you see that wreck, you don't really understand what happened. When you see it, replay on TV or things like that. But as you get older, you see that, and you realize how terrible it was and how detrimental to, the Earnhardt family and the sport of NASCAR it was. Did it scare me? No, it didn't scare me. And I was never really frightened by it. There's just a tragic thing that happened, and like I said, I wish I could remember more of it. I've never talked to my dad about that, event that he was there for. Just not something that I want to bring up with him. But no, to answer your question, it didn't really scare me. But I wish I had more memory. I wish I was older and been able to meet Dale Earnhardt and be able to have some good stories to tell. But I was just too young.
And you also had a part in another vicious accident last year, in last year's 500. How long did it take you to sort of process your way through that?
Yeah, that was tough. Really tough. Just things happen so fast in that moment. You like to say that you plan for all these things, moves you're going to make, things like that. And you can try to plan for them as much as you can, but you have split seconds to decide what you're going to do, and things just happen so quick, and good things can happen so quick and really bad things can happen really fast. And it's hard to process that because honestly, I don't think about any of that stuff. You never go into a race thinking you're going to be a part or get hurt in a race car. You just never think about that. And that was a rough night for sure. Not knowing any updates on Ryan, even though it was not intentional, you're still a part of the wreck. And that was definitely tough. But it was nice to. Really, the time I felt relief was Amy Earnhardt texted me like the next morning and said she was talking to their family and gave me some updates. And I was able to talk to Ryan a couple days after that. But yeah, that took me a little bit to get over. I don't watch that anymore. I watch the 500, but I turn it off. I stopped watching right after turn 4. I just don't want to see it. You learn from what move you could have made, but I don't watch that and trying to think about it.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Mark Garrow with PRN. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you. Good morning, Ryan. On the plus side, 4 straight years you've had at least one win, and that, again, that's a streak that most guys don't have. But it's just a win. I mean, how important is it to you to break through and go, okay, I'm going to knock down 2, 3, 4 wins? Because if you look at the stats last year, runner-up 3 times, third place 3 times, and you're kind of right there knocking on the door to multiple wins. How important is that to you?
Very important. Last year, last year we had some really fast cars, and I felt like we let honestly 4 or 5 kind of slip away from us that I thought we had the fastest car in. And whether it was, just racing circumstances or, there's some things we could have done better as a team. I could have done some things better as a driver to give us better shots of winning those races. I definitely don't want to be the guy who wins only once a year, and the last 2 times we've won, they've been on super speedways, so we need to change that for sure. And we have a group for sure, to be able to do that. Todd Gordon, this whole group is really, really great. We had super fast cars, and in the off season, it was nice to sit down and say, hey, what can we improve on? What are the things we didn't do well that we really need to work on? And what are the things we did well that we can still improve? So those things were nice to be able to sit down with Todd and then talk to everybody to try to figure those out. But yeah, it's really important. I mean, hopefully we have a really good year this year. I'm sure our cars will be really fast. It's just a matter of executing a little bit more, whether, on my side, on pit road, everybody, has a hand in this. And but I got full confidence in our group. I think they're great people, great guys, and we have potential that can be a really good year for us.
And my follow-up question, Ryan, is I watched some of the trailers from the crew. It looks like you're getting more at home in front of the camera. I mean, this is not the first TV show that you've done. Are you feeling more and more at home, and do you feel like a real actor when you're doing these things now?
Far from it. Definitely not going to become an actor anytime soon. But they're fun to do. I've had some cool opportunities. Do Magnum PI, to do Taken, a TV show, The crew. I was in Cars 3, little voiceover. So they're tiny, tiny little roles. But I enjoy doing that. I really enjoy going to those sets and seeing how everything works. I'm fascinated by that because I kind of compare it to racing and race shops because you see a finished car on the track on TV and you don't realize how many people it takes to get that car ready. And I can compare that to movies or TV shows because you see the finished product on television, but there's so many people that are involved and so many hours of work it takes, and prep work is amazing. So I kind of compare those two a little bit as far as what goes on behind the scenes. But that's fun to do. I think that's going to be a good show. Honestly, it's a live audience sitcom, and Kevin James was amazing. I was a big fan of his, and he was a super nice guy. And they did a really good job of researching the correct things. It's a comedy, show, but it's not making fun of us at all. They're not doing that. They make jokes, but it's all in good fun, and they do a really good job of doing that. It was really a shame that we couldn't allow fans, last year with everything going on, because they were going to come out to the track and learn more and film some stuff. And it was a shame that didn't happen, but I'm looking forward to when that comes out. I think it will turn out really good, and hopefully everybody likes it too.
Thank you.
Well,
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Kelly Crandall. Go ahead, Kelly.
Thank you. Hey, Ryan. Going into another year where, for the most part, we won't have practice and qualifying, do you expect that to be as big a challenge this year after going through it for most of 2020?
I feel like everyone kind of got used to it last year. In the beginning, when we went back racing after our break, it was pretty tough on everybody. Tough on drivers, crew chief, engineers, road crew, pit crew. Tough on everybody just trying to get back in their schedule. But I thought by the midway through the season, I felt like everybody kind of got a pretty good idea of what to expect. Kind of how to go to the racetrack. Now, granted, you won't be able to try as last year you couldn't show up to the racetrack with kind of an experimental setup, like we used to do in practice, and see how everything works, because obviously you don't have any time. You're thrown into the race, and let's say it's pretty bad or doesn't work, you're stuck with it all race. So that's kind of the downside of that, I feel like. But I think the teams do a good job. It goes back to preparation at the shop, just talking and preparing and comparing notes from years to years, and that puts a lot more emphasis on getting the cars ready and getting them right at the shop, because teams had it. We started out last year, some races we were in left field, and you have to work on it all day, but sometimes you unload close, and that's just the way it goes. But I think everyone's pretty used to it by now.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Lee Spencer. Go ahead, Lee.
Super, thank you. Thanks for joining us, Ryan. Just curious, is there any pressure going into Bristol this year, given your family's background on dirt?
No. Everyone thinks I grew up dirt racing, and that's really not the case. That was, Dad and Grandpa Lou. That was my Uncle Dale. That was what they grew up doing. I've only driven the sprint car a handful of times. Driven a couple dirt modifieds before, way back. Really before I got with Penske. So I didn't really grow up doing a lot of dirt racing. Just growing up in North Carolina, I did asphalt late models. So, but yeah, I don't feel pressure, but everyone expects me to do good just because my last name. It's dirt. He must run great on dirt. Like it's, maybe I have some genetic thing that is supposed to make me run okay on dirt. But I'm honestly, I'm looking forward to Bristol. I think it'll be unique. I'll be curious to see how those cars drive around that place, and how the track is going to kind of change throughout the race and the prep work that'll be going into the track throughout the weekend. So no pressure, just go out there and try to win the race like every other weekend.
Your crew chief, Todd Gordon, admitted he knows absolutely nothing about dirt racing. So you kind of traded down when you lost Jeremy Bolins in that respect. But, how as a team can you possibly prepare for such an unknown?
Yeah, you do the best you can, right? Bolins came from that world, dirt late models, things like that. And, my dad's been giving some good advice too. We've been talking to my dad of what he thinks, and kind of what ways do you think you can make our cup cars work best on dirt, and it's hard because you're limited in the box. You're limited in already the cut box, the car, and things like that. So that part is pretty tough. But Bullens has obviously been a big help. Yeah, Todd was. I know nothing about dirt racing, so probably leaning on Bullens and my dad a little bit. But we work really well here. So Todd will get a good crash course in it and see what we can do. Should be fun.
Did your contract preclude you from doing what Chase did in the off season, which was kind of, test out the dirt circuit, going to Millbridge and then Chili Bowl? Because I have to think that somewhere down the line, something like that might be on your bucket list.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, from racing anything, as drivers, you enjoy racing any type of motor vehicle, and just to feel the differences and things like that, whether it's dirt, asphalt, road courses, no matter what car, you enjoy running that stuff. And it's just, not on the table right now for me. Maybe down the road, you never know. But yeah, that's just something that it's just we haven't been able to work out, which is, it's just part of it. And I understand why it is the way it is. But no, it's something I'd like to do, down the road. We'll see what works out, just running other stuff. And, but right now, the main focus is obviously NASCAR and trying to win races and championship there. So that's kind of what we're focused on and why that hasn't been a possibility on the other vehicle stuff.
Thanks again for your time. Thanks, Amanda.
Absolutely. We're going to take our next question from Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Thank you, Ryan. Your results certainly have gotten better the last year and a half or so on the super speedways, and I'm curious. Certainly, you've had results at times that were good, and I know some of this is luck to some degree. But how have you evolved as a driver at Daytona and Talladega, and to the level of where you've won 2 of the last 5, could have easily won 3 of the last 5 races on those tracks?
Yeah, I've always enjoyed speedway racing. It's just a different form of racing. The tough thing about speedway racing too is the cars are continuously changing. With the way the package is now, way different than what it was a couple of years ago. They just draft so different with the big spoiler we got now. You don't see the leader controlling as much of the race. You just can't do that. The runs are too big. You're going to cause big wrecks if you try to throw blocks like you could a couple of years ago. But I think that one of the biggest things that has improved our speedway racing is just, me and my spotter Josh Williams talking a lot, just kind of discussing, what we can do better on these speedways. And, he's learning as well with me of when the cars change, he has to, change the way he his perspective for sure on runs coming and where to go. You honestly, now you don't have as much time as you used to have to get in a certain lane just because the runs are so massive. So your decision making is a lot quicker. But I think it's just that, driver spotter relationship is really good. Fast cars, obviously really fast cars are great that Team Penske builds. And like he said, a lot of it is luck. That's a good chunk of it, just making it to the end of these races. If you make it to the end, you're most likely to have a good shot at winning the race. And sometimes things happen that are out of your control. You just get in a big pile up and nowhere to go. And, I've been on both sides of it. So everyone has just the way it goes. So, but yeah, it's multiple things, but me and Josh have worked really hard at that. And then Penske building really fast cars too.
With the clash on the road course this year, obviously in years past, you'd be able to use that as a test session or just to kind of get more acclimated more quickly. With not having that opportunity, less track time before you get ready for like the duels and everything like that. How does that change Speed Weekend a little bit in what you have to do to prepare?
Yeah, it's definitely going to change it up for sure. You put it great. The Clash was a perfect race on the speedway to kind of just get back in the rhythm of things in a race. You can practice, you can go out and practice in the pack, but you're not necessarily going to race hard in a practice in a pack. You don't want to tear up your car. So the Clash was great as like it was an exhibition race to go try new things with your car, see what they can do. Just get back in your mode of racing cars and timing and things like that. So yeah, that'll change in the limited practice we have and just firing right off into the duels. That'll be tough. It's definitely, going to be difficult to get going. But better learn these things fast again. I mean, if you forget had a speedway race and things like that in 3 months, that shouldn't happen. So you should be able to fire off pretty quick. But the clash on the speedway was nice to just kind of get back in the swing of things. But the clash now will help us for the next week when we go back to the road course.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Mike Solarte. Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Amanda. Hey, Ryan. How much does a driver look ahead to the schedule, considering this year with all the changes, additional road courses, dirt track at Bristol, that sort of thing? I mean, I asked Brad this, and he says that variety is the spice of life. But have you looked at it and said, "Wow, this is going to be radically different from anything you guys are used to"?
Yeah, I mean, when they first came out with this schedule, you look at the new tracks, we're like, oh, we're going to Dakota and dirt Bristol and Nashville, Road America, things like that. And like, oh, that's pretty neat, going to new places. I haven't been to a couple of these racetracks before. I know probably a lot of guys haven't. And I like that. I look forward to that challenge and seeing what you can do and learning the tracks pretty quick. So, I don't sit there and look at the schedule all week, weeks out, we're going here, we're preparing for these 2-3 tracks here the next few weeks. But yeah, when I saw the schedule, I get excited about new tracks and new areas for sure for people to come watch the race. And that Austin area is a great area, and maybe fans haven't been to a NASCAR race before, and they can come out to a really nice facility there in COTA. But I just prepare. You look a couple weeks out and get ready for that race, and that's kind of the extent of it.
And my follow-up, the hard-hitting question that everybody wants to know: have you had your 2021 haircut, and are you going mullet chasing again throughout the rest of the year? Are you going to have it flowing out the back of the helmet again?
I'm getting it cut actually tomorrow. So yeah, but I have no mustache like Chase Elliott. It's a rocking handlebar he's got, and but yeah, I'll cut my hair tomorrow. So
thanks, man. Good luck.
All right, we're going to move to our next question, and we're going to go to Jake with Autosport. Go ahead, Jake.
Hi, Ryan. Just following up from a question earlier about practice and qualifying not happening majority of the races this year. Do you foresee a situation in the future where when things get back to some sort of normal, that NASCAR goes back to traditional 3-day events, or do you see going forward a mixture of 3-day events and 1- and 2-day events? Thank you.
Yeah, a good question on that one. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what NASCAR has in mind on that stuff. Let's say COVID is cured and vaccine works, all this stuff, we're back to normal. I'm not sure what they plan on doing. It's been in talks for years between owners, NASCAR, things like that, sponsors on 3-day shows, 2-day shows. What do we do? What's a mixture? What can we fit in there? Because if you cut out 3-day shows, right? Cut out practice and qualifying, that's less TV time for the sponsors, right? Sponsors want more TV time, but it costs the teams less to not have practice, things like that. So it's kind of interesting how that dynamic works, which I'm not kind of a big part of that, but it's just my knowledge of it. And but me traditionally, just because I grew up doing it so much, and I know everyone did, I love practicing. I love Friday practices, working on your car, hanging out with your team, and really figuring out what you need to make your car go faster. I love that, and that's just enjoying being in a car and being at the racetrack and being around your second family. So I don't know. Me personally, I like I said, I love practice, and I wouldn't mind seeing it back when things get back to normal. But that's hard to make a call. What they're going to do.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Jacob Seelman. Go ahead, Jacob.
Thanks, Amanda. Ryan, thank you for your time. Brad was in here a little bit ago and talked about his frustration with the Daytona 500 and coming close, not being able to win it. Is there some of that for you, even though your career hasn't been quite as long as his yet? You've been up front. You had the one 3 years ago where you had the car that arguably should have won the race. I mean, is there a level of frustration already that you've been so close in the 500 and haven't been able to close it out?
I wouldn't say frustration. Obviously, you have a good shot of. I've had a good shot of winning the 500. I'd say 3 times I had a really good shot of winning it. In 17, we were on second. 18, we had the fastest car, and we got caught up in that wreck at the end that I caused on accident. And last year, we lost by a couple feet. And you're frustrated at the time, in the moment, obviously, because you just lost the race. But looking back on it, I'm not frustrated by it. I've looked at it as, I've had a couple really great opportunities to win the 500. What can I do better or different to try to make sure I make that happen or give us a better shot at it yet? So that's kind of how I look at it. Whether it's something I did, you rewatch the race, like, man, if I find myself in this situation again, I should do this differently, and it might have given us a better shot to win that race. So that's what I look at. I don't really try to get frustrated by it. I just try to figure out ways to do things better in the moment if those situations come up again, to give us a better shot at it.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Jamil Hawkins with ASN Media. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. So Ryan, Brad mentioned club racing and sim work to prepare for the race at Circuit of the Americas. How have you started to prepare for that race, since that track is so different from any road course you have driven in your career?
Yeah, pretty much what Brad said. Club racing and sim work. I have a Ford sim plan tomorrow morning, and we're going to go over COTA and work more on that, along with some other tracks. But the Ford sim is really, really good. I think we've put a lot of work into that over the past handful of years, going there a lot, putting a lot of hours. I know a lot of Ford drivers go there and put in a lot of hours of work and trying to get these tracks as accurate as possible, whether that's bumps, curves, turns, elevation stuff, all that stuff goes into it. And they're great tools to learn, especially these places we haven't been to before, just to try to get ahead of the curve a little bit, not going there pretty much completely blind. And yeah, you have a practice, but if you're trying to completely figure out the track in the 50 minutes of practice we have, that's unfortunate. So I know I'm sure every single driver from every manufacturer is going to be wearing the sim out before we go there. Same goes at Road America, and the Indy Road Course. But yeah, the Ford Sim is a great tool that we use pretty often to prepare for new places, and I really enjoy doing it for road courses. It gives you reference points. For me, I think that's one of the biggest things.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Cole with Popular Speed. Go ahead, Cole.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Ryan. Great seeing everybody again. Stepping away from racing for a bit, The Crew starring Kevin James begins streaming on Netflix in 2 weeks. What was it like working with him, and how do you feel the show will impact NASCAR's viewership and popularity going forward?
Yeah, as I said before, it was great to work with Kevin. Incredibly nice guy. I loved him on King of Queens. I watched that as a kid. It was my dad's favorite show. It was my favorite show. And just a really nice person. Was very, very courteous to, when I went up there, Austin Dillon and Cole Custer went up there, he was very, very nice, and showed us around at all the studios. All the writers were great people. The director was awesome. And they made us feel at home. We didn't really feel like outsiders, even though we are outsiders in that world. They made us feel really comfortable. But that was fun to do. They kind of let us do our thing. They had some stuff written down for us, and they were just like, say kind of what you want to say if you want to. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm bad on camera when it comes to like funny comedians, because I'll just laugh at what they say and I'll ruin the take, and then I feel like a jerk for ruining everything. So, but that was fun. I think it'll be good. Like I said, it's a live audience sitcom pretty much, but they did a really good job of gathering research, talking to a lot of teams They talk to RCR a bunch, I know, of really trying to do things correctly. And I appreciated the work that they put into it. I think that's what you got to do. They're not going in blind and just kind of making us a bad stereotype. Yeah, they poke fun, but doesn't have any ill intent. They're not making fun of us at all. It's not going to be bad for the sport. I think, how many subscribers does Netflix have? And they're bringing a knowledgeable comedy to Netflix. So I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see it in completion. I haven't seen any episodes yet. I haven't, only that little clip. And being there for a few scenes, I was laughing my butt off. So I think it'll be great. I'm excited for it to come out and see what you guys think, and let see what everybody thinks, whether you're a fan of NASCAR or not. Hopefully everybody enjoys it.
So thank you.
Well,
Okay, we're going to squeeze in one final question. Holly Kane, did you have a question?
Yes, I did actually.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, real quick. Ryan, I just wondered what it's going to be like because you've got so much movement on the teams, different drivers and different cars and new teams and a bunch of extra people, trying to qualify just for the Daytona 500. How do you kind of go about that, acquainting yourself with who's in what car?
Yeah, that's kind of the that's the thing you go through at every 500, right? You have to get your brain used to, oh, he's driving this car this year. Or, okay, he's new and things like that. So sometimes I forget. I'm like, who's driving the whatever number car. But you usually pick that up pretty quick, and you just kind of see, either what duel you're in, and then who everyone is in the 500 and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of younger, rookies going for the 500. Cindric we got here, that we got to try to get him in. That's a big thing, whether he qualifies in on time, which would be great. Not, hopefully we're in a duel with him where we can be good teammates. So, but yeah, it's just kind of every year you have to reassociate your brain of someone's in this car or a new guy in this car. That's just kind of what you go through every year. But at the end of the day, everyone's racers. You just kind of get used to racing everybody, whether they're brand new or been in the sport for 20 years.
I got you. Thank you.
All right, Ryan, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for staying just a couple minutes over. We appreciate your time, and best of luck in the Daytona 500.
Thank y'all. Have a good day.